You've been entertaining us for decades. Muruga, you built one of India's most respected companies. You've taken it public. So actually, I see no point in introducing you. But I'm going to actually ask you to introduce not yourself, but your spouse. Given the nature of the topic, given the nature of the company Muruga runs, I think it's only appropriate that we actually begin with each of you telling us a little bit about your spouse. So I'm going to ask Maddie to start, and then you, Muruga.
Yeah, sure.
Well, thank you. And now that it's going to be a certified recorded conversation, I have to be very careful what I say about my wife. But in all honesty, the line that I'm in is not an easy line for a woman to handle, especially if you're not from the industry, especially if you're from a small town or if you're from a middle class family. It's a line where you're constantly under threat. There is a lot of insecurity in terms of how people look at your husband, the kind of beautiful woman that he gets to work with on a daily basis, the amount of temptations that is there, the amount of stress that is there, the amount of financial insecurities that we go through on a daily, monthly basis. It's not an ordinary life. It's definitely a very demanding. And I'm not complaining. I think both Sarit and I realize that it's beautiful and it's got its merits. But for a woman, it's extremely challenging. I remember my wife telling me that I don't mind you working with beautiful women or doing intimate scenes in the film. It's just the questions that people ask me every time you do it, when they say, does it affect you? Does it affect you? It doesn't affect me, but it just irritates me, she says, But, things like that for her to handle. And on top of that, there is no respite from being a responsible wife, a responsible daughter-in-law, a responsible daughter, and a responsible mother. And knowing that I have found the right partner in Sarita, because it's not just the mere love and affection between us. Over a period of 20 years, that love and affection has now grown into mutual admiration and complete amount of reverence for the kind of work that my wife does to keep my life intact, so that I can just concentrate on acting and do my job. And I sometimes wonder if I had actually gone with my earlier whims of, marrying somebody different because they were different. And I'll say different because that's the only criteria. Maybe they were from a different background. Maybe they were from a different place. Maybe they were from a different financial level, money level. All that, I can't imagine having found somebody more efficient for me than Sarita. And so one of the most important aspects of Sarita that my wife, that I'm very grateful for, one of the litmus tests in my tick list was the fact that she's an extraordinary wife and daughter for sure, but she's a par excellent and marvelous daughter-in-law. And for that aspect of her, keeping my parents happy, keeping my parents loved and respected, made my life so much easier that I'm ready to fly and float. And for that, I'm ever grateful. And I think a lot can be said about matrimony if you have a life partner like Sarita.
That's a beautiful answer, Maddie. Thanks for kicking it off with a really lovely answer. And I really hope your wife is watching this.
I hope she's not.
Muruga, over to you.
Okay. Thankfully, I'm in a comfortable and a responsible position. They're not a difficult position like Maddie, I understand. And happily married to Deepa through BharatMatrimony.com for the last 20 years. And every day the marriage is only becoming stronger and much more happier. And she is Tamilian, born and brought up in Gujarat. So initially, Tamil was not so good. In fact, Gujarati Hindi was very good. So, and after marrying me, Tamil also picked up, and it's going on great. I usually joke my wife that, since I got married through BharatMatrimony.com, it is my responsibility to ensure that marriage is all the more happier and promote to all the members that, you get married through BharatMatrimony, your life is all the more happier. So I say, look, your marriage is guaranteed because I'm running BharatMatrimony.com.
You have a responsibility.
Yes.
Thank you, Muruga. So
actually, Muruga sir, Muruga sir, that's an extraordinary guarantee for a marriage, because your life and business depends on it. And in my case also, I put all my bank account and money in her name, so her marriage is guaranteed as well. But both of us are going to get whacking from our husband, from our wives and our friends for giving out these secrets, because their spouses are going to demand this from them now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Maddie, I'm actually going to start with the title of the show, which is A Perfect Match. In your opinion, do you really think that's possible? Is it too idealistic, too unachievable? Is there something called a perfect match?
Thank God that there is nothing called a perfect match, because when you, by definition of perfection, it means that it cannot be better. You understand? And
Yeah.
any relationship that does not go through the highs and lows and does not have scope for betterment will only stagnate and stale. And that is, and by definition, I think that should not happen. So a perfect match is, I feel, a definition of an ideal match, more than a perfect match, is that, you know, when you marry, earlier on, the definition of marriage was when you marry, your two families marry and you have to make sure you're compatible. And all that aside, even for individuals today who are conditioned by social media from very earlier on in their lives, and for the kind of communication we've never had in our youth in terms of deciding who our life partner should be, one becomes mature at a much younger age now. One is so worldly wise by the time one is 18 and 19. The innocence of romance has gone away. The kind of romance we used to experience when we were 18, 19, and 20 are being experienced at the age of 12, 13, and 14, and so the physical intimacy also has come down much earlier, even among the middle class families. And I'm saying this because as a result of this, your expectation from your life partner is hugely demanding. So if your friend has had a destination wedding where somebody spent 10 crores for that wedding, you already develop an animosity with your spouse because that person is saying, no, we don't want to spend that kind of money in today's world. Can I just have a normal wedding and just call the family members? So we did that. And fortunately for me and Sarita, the idea of inviting people who did not want to be taken care of in our wedding, that was the criteria for inviting people who will not come and say, you didn't take care of me. I wasn't fed. The food was not good. We didn't want to invite those kind of people. We wanted to invite those people who made sense, and we invited those that would contribute to the wedding as opposed to take from it. And I'm saying this because the idea of an ideal match has to then come from the fact that you're ready to make sacrifices and change yourself to an extent that you're able to maintain your identity, at the same time safeguard the marriage. The partnership should be such that you don't mind the changes that you will inadvertently have to make about your own self, about your own life, about your own ego, about your own stature, about how you used to think about yourself. You have to give a lot of those things away. And only then will you come to a state of equilibrium where the love between the two of you will compensate for all the things you had to give up. If that is achieved as quickly as possible in a marriage, where you respect the other person for all their idiosyncrasies as well as their ability to irritate you, and at the same time admire what they're capable of doing for you and comfortable with that, I think then you would have reached a state of ideal companionship.
Got it. Muruga, I'm actually going to ask you a slightly provocative question on the same topic, which is, can Bharat Matrimony actually help achieve a perfect match?
Raja, it's true that everyone desires a perfect match. I agree with Maddie that and in reality, it is not possible. Because as a human being, we are not perfect. But we have our own beautiful, wonderful qualities. But at the same time, we also have our own flaws. What Bharat Matrimony is trying to do is help people to find a right life partner. What I meant by the right life partner is that you should get married to someone who cares for what you really love. See, like everyone looking for a life partner, they have their own preferences and expectation. So you need to distinguish between among the preferences, what is must and what are the regular preferences. What is a must for you? It is important you make sure the other person understands and supports that. Just give an example. The girl wants to work after the marriage because she's career oriented. It is important that she communicates well in advance and gets to marry to the person who supports in her career. Likewise, the guy wants to be an entrepreneur. It's important the guy communicates to the girl. That's what I did. Before marriage, I told my wife, I want to be an entrepreneur. I communicated because that was important for me, because as an entrepreneur, you have to put in enormous amount of time and effort, make your the entrepreneurship successful. So it's important that you communicate and get married to the person who understands, who supports that. Well, this is very important. Okay, this is important first step, but you have to do a lot more to make your marriage perfect. So basically, it's our responsibility to our to help you to find the right match, and it is your responsibility to make your marriage perfect. But again, you have a lot more, and I hope you get a chance to share some of the insights and what I think can make marriages happier and successful. So, but this is the important thing. Like as I told, the Maddie got married to Sarita. I'm sure kind of should have known that okay, this is what the role demands and all that. It's important that you should get married to the person who supports what you really care for.
Maddie, is that right that Sarita knew you well before you actually got married? I mean, did she understand what she's getting into?
Yes, we were very lucky because I started going around with Sarita when I was 22.
Wow.
And we got married when I was 30. So we had 8 years of courtship. So she was entirely with me during the process of me leaving college and becoming a professor, and then eventually doing the various things I did and becoming a television actor and finally a film actor and then becoming a star. So she was right through with me, holding my hand when I became popular, when the girls started showing interest in me as a star, and became easier because she was not thrust into it. We grew into it. I think it's helped us immensely knowing each other and knowing what our faults and strengths are before we actually got married. But I don't know if a lot of people will have that luxury in today's world, and that's where I think a Bharat matrimony comes in place. When you put all the vectors in place and all the paradigms are explained, and like Muruga said so eloquently, it's very important to communicate what are the deal breakers in your relationship right before you get married, and then you get easily settled into that relationship.
Got it. Maddie, you just spoke about how early you met your future life partner and then you got married. Now you've been married for a couple of decades, I presume. Is there a secret to this kind of a long, successful innings from a marriage point of view? Is there a secret, or is it just like what you said right in the beginning, right? So many different things, big and small, that go into it.
The secret is you should care enough for the other person to be able to handle a series of disasters one after the other. That's what basically marriage is. Things are never going to pan out the way you imagined. Things are never going to come and be brought to you, because by virtue of getting equilibrium in a relationship means it's already sinking. So the other person will change, you will change, the environment will change, you'll have babies, they won't go to the school that you want you to go. Your parents will have different demands. Their health will be different. You'll come to a point of life. You'll come to a point in your life where your health matters, your parents' health matters, your children's health matter, and health becomes a huge part of your life. So I think that to make the marriages work right now, you should be, like you said very correctly, have enough love to make enough sacrifices to change a lot of things about yourself. And I have changed. I know I've dramatically changed. I know Sarita has dramatically changed. The intrinsic qualities remain the same. When Sarita and I got married, I was very clear. I'm a vegetarian. I cannot have non-veg food in my house. That's a deal breaker for me. I can't come into the house if I smell non-veg. She used to eat non-veg at an earlier point in time. She gave it up. That was for her more important than not having me as her husband. So I'm just giving you a tangible example. So non-veg has never entered our lives for the past 25 years. It doesn't come into my house. And so I'm happy with that. She's happy with that. But these are small things that you'll have to make compromises with.
Got it. And Muruga, you've seen so many couples get married through your platform. And I know that recently you celebrated couples who actually completed 10 years of their marriage life. What do you think is the glue that actually keeps couples together for long periods of time?
Before that, Raja, it's unfortunate truth that people expect marriage will be successful by default. It is important that you have to make marriages happier and successful. So like how you are making other things work, it's also important you make sure that marriage also succeeds and becoming happier. So you grew into a relationship. But a few things they tell you, these are the important things to make marriages happier and successful. The first and foremost, as Maddie said, love, which is the most important thing. Second is respect. And that is appreciating others. And finally, say sorry. Even that's a joke. Say sorry when you're wrong. Say sorry even when you're not wrong also. But I see probably few simple tips. I tell my friends that, to make marriages, kind of happy and successful, to go for a 30 minutes walk with your spouse without mobile phone. Listen to her. Woman wants to talk to their husband. Just do that on a daily basis, 30 minutes. Daily say, I love you. Okay, woman won't be tired of listening to you or hearing from that, you love her the most. And third is that appreciate, even small thing. It makes a nice coffee. Tell her, genuinely appreciate, because there's so many things you can appreciate. We do these three things, and finally I say sorry. And just these simple things can make marriages happier and highly successful.
Those are lovely tips, Muruga. I wish I had met you many years back. I think I would have mastered this for myself. Um, Actually, moving on to a section which is inevitable these days, the dreaded word, which is COVID. Maddie, I'm sure you've also been locked up for many, many months, just like all of us. And one interesting insight that we discovered at Bharat Matrimony was that when we speak to our customers, when we speak to the community, is during this period, it looks like partners are actually discovering something about each other which they never knew before. I'd love to hear from you, your experience and how, if you and your wife discovered something new, interesting about each other.
Good. Now that you mentioned COVID, can I just take a time to cough a little bit? Actually, it feels like coughing. It's so strange when you talk about it. It states an irritation in your throat.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been. It's like when somebody says there's COVID in your building, then every part of that day you're wondering whether you got fever or you got cold or something like that. So when the COVID era started, we all expected it to first last for 10 days. It was a 10-day lockdown. And everybody was saying, wow, 10-day forced holiday. It's such lovely family time. I'm spending so much time with my family. The roads are so empty. The birds are chirping and everything. And slowly all that descended into something that was, larger than a pandemic. It was actually a disaster of epic proportions in terms of the economy. And most importantly, the kind of turmoil that it brought into everybody's house. We are lucky. We have secure houses and we have enough place to walk around and we have enough places for the families to find their own corners, sit there and brood and sort out how they're going to, handle this COVID situation on their own. But for people who have small houses and you have two 8-year-old children or 7-year-old children and you have one in-laws and they're all staying in the same apartment, this is a situation where you're forced to stay at home and be rubbed onto each other's face is going to stretch the family thin. And I think even in our house, what I discovered about Sarita is that initially we were very happy because I'm always traveling. She's, taking care of Vedant, and we had a lot of good times together and we spoke about a lot of things together. We're reminiscent about a lot of stuff that we used to do. Okay. Slowly, we started repeating those topics. You suddenly realize that, you're talking about the same thing or an offshoot of the same thing. Then we decided to find ways in which we are trying to do something new together, put the family together. Let's play carom board, let's play Ludo, let's play some video games together. And we try to do everything, which would keep what we imagined was the equilibrium of a family intact. But I realized, unfortunately, that I am not as patient as I thought I was. I'm not as determined as I thought I was, because all my friends were working out and building 8-packs and 16-packs. And I was just sitting at home wanting to watch TV, not thinking about anything. Days and months kept passing by and I just was not motivated enough to go out and work. And then I got a back pain because of that. And Sarita was like, what? I've been telling you, come for a walk. She's far more fitter. But also she realizes that I handle my stress in my own way, because for actors like us, the money has completely stopped all of a sudden. Monies that were due to us and things that we're expecting to earn. And after paying your advance tax, you suddenly realize, oops, nobody keeps liquidity for 1 year. You know what I mean? And I put all the money in the movies. I'm doing rocketry. So there were challenges that we had to face. There were things we had to tell people that we can't afford your salary right now because we don't simply have the cash. So we have to give you half or quarter or whatever it was. And at the same time, take care of the medical bills and stuff. So at that time, when we were actually challenged into situations, is when I realized how strong Sarita is, or Sarita realized how strong I am, or how compassionate I am, or how caring I am. And all those qualities started coming in and you're realizing about the person after 2-3 months. And now after, about 8 months, 7 months of this quarantine and slowly being able to move out, I think we have a completely new and refreshing understanding about each other. And I'm saying refreshing because I'm very grateful to have gotten that insight from about Sarita.
Thank you, Mary. I mean, it's in some ways it's a little heartwarming to know that as a star, you're also going through, the situation that you've described, the insights that you've described really resonate. I think all of us, this COVID has been a leveler. That I think all of us are going through this phase. It's pretty interesting to hear your answer.
I think that was the whole idea, is because everybody thinks we live in glass houses and castles.
Correct.
But if anything else, our stresses are a lot more than normal.
Yeah.
In fact, I see among my other relatives, they've been able to handle it slightly better than we have. It was really tough on us.
Yeah, because I think none of us really think about it like that, that your industry is among the worst affected. And, with really no clear path as to when it will start opening.
Most importantly, unlike other professions, ours is not a trickle-down effect in terms of getting our monies.
Yeah.
It was one day, 16th of March, game over. That's it. No more money in terms of earning.
Yeah.
So you can either do all these web conferences and make some money, but it's nothing remote to what you have your monthly expenses planned out to.
Yeah.
And then being in a position of power, you can't be one of those people who suddenly said, okay, guys, all of you are out of work, get out. I can't help it. There is compassion involved in that. So lots of stuff that we had to do and compromise to be able to survive within respectable limits in our own eyes. That was important thing.
Got it. No, hope you get back to working. We are obviously all eager to see new work coming from you. So fingers crossed. Muruga. Sorry. Go ahead, Muruga.
I'm waiting for the movie from Maddie,
I know.
Thank you.
Muruga, what about, your point of view in a pandemic like this? What do you think this will do to the institution of marriage? Do you think it'll become stronger, or do you think it'll actually weaken it?
I think it depends on the people understanding a marriage. I think by and large, it would have strengthened the marriage. So I've been kind of going to office for the last couple of months. First 2 months or 3 months I was at home, and in the absence of domestic help, my wife Deepa taught children's how to do cleaning, mopping, or washing dishes. So my son had come from UK, and you also every day started washing vessels. Okay, one day say, let me do it. I thought it would take only 15 minutes. I also got a back pain, Maddie, for different reasons. And I washed the dishes. It took 1 hour.
Yeah.
And I got a back pain. And I understood that, we think that, what they do at home is an easy job. Actually, it's much more difficult. And again, we had every day we used to play games, Ludo, or, various game, cards games and carom, various things. It was wonderful, actually. The couple of months was definitely very good. For me, I need to go to office. For me, when the government announced that 10% of the people IT companies can go and work, while there are almost around close to 2,000 people in Canada, only around 10-15 people will come to office. I'm one of those guys. It's for me that, I need to be in the office. I need to feel that, for me, working from home, while, today almost a few thousand employees are working from home. For me, working from office, what gives me that feeling that I had really worked. So initial couple of months was great. We had a good time, and they discovered things that, what I thought would be easy thing. And so it's just nice, and help to discover each other better, and playing with the kids, all fun. Also, kind of heard from one of my friends how his marriage become much more better, because he understood that, because other people are so busy. People like business people are professional. They don't have time to interact and and talk to spouse and understand various things. Definitely would have helped them to discover certain dimension of spouse, or certain things what they do on a day-to-day basis. Like the point I told you, like I understood that washing dishes is not an easy task, and it's quite a cumbersome task and all.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. I think that by and large, it's a strength the institutional marriage and relationship. I also saw the video of people posting. I think, remember we had a discussion, Raja?
Yeah.
And one of your colleagues where his mother sent a picture saying that, you've never seen your dad doing some cleaning stuff and all.
Yeah, he was with a broom. He was sweeping the house.
Yeah,
almost like I've never seen him like this in my life. He was so happy.
Yeah, these are things, kind of. So it's definitely brought a new dimension and some understanding of relationship. By and large, it strengthened the relationship. But so
yeah, got it. Thank you. Maddie, you touched upon in the very beginning, you spoke about the career that you are in, and the stress that it can have on a marriage. We are outsiders to this industry, but we hear a lot of gossip. We hear about infidelity. And because it's a very high profile industry, if a marriage does go bad, unfortunately, it's on news channels, it's on newspapers. Can you talk a little bit about the career that you are in, and how you think of marriage from the perspective of the career of that career?
Um, I'm in what is called the greatest business on earth, which is the best business, the greatest business called the showbiz. And we have a lots and lots to be grateful about being part of this industry. As a celebrity, as a showman, you're blessed with so many things, but the sacrifices that come with it too are also similar. At the end of the day, if I go back and I feel my parents are happy and proud of me, my family is satisfied, that's a big, big achievement. And that, when you're a celebrity and you're respected the world over, you get a lot more of that in a year, as opposed to the days you're wondering what's going to happen to your future. But when the challenges come in, it's really challenging. So, for example, for my wife, imagine you as a husband, and your wife is a beautiful woman who's going to work every day, and she's working with the most handsome, good-looking men on a daily basis. Okay, you know, there is very few people on earth who will have the confidence and the thing not to worry about who the person you're talking to is, when even after you've come home. If she's talking to somebody and smiling and talking to somebody, you're going to, no, whole day then you were there. What are you doing at home also? Even though that's the least form of jealousy that you will see in whatever maturity you have, it is still an insecurity that people face. So in my industry, imagine that happening on a daily basis. Every day somebody posts on Twitter that I shot a film with Maddie, or I did this with him, or the fact that I'm not around because when my shooting takes me out of the country for 2 months, she's got to handle the whole house on her own with a growing child who's a teenager. Anybody who has a teenager in this COVID era will understand how terrible a task that is. So she has to do those things. And the thing is, those challenges have to be appreciated by me. I have a preconceived notion about how my wife should be in my mind, thanks to how I've seen my mother behave with my father, or thanks to see how the elders in my family behave with the Purush. So that maryada is important, that respect and all. But over a period of time, I realized that I am giving her a completely different life compared to what my father gave my mother. So that understanding and that insight helped me understand how she needs to be taken care of. Helped me understand that the whole Western concept of a husband and wife, which is something that is being peddled to us on a daily basis in India, is not actually the right way to work. There are many, many things. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. My mother is one of the strongest women I know. She worked as a chief manager in Bank of India, and she was the lady chief manager for almost 30 years in a place like Jamshedpur. It was part of Bihar at that time, and finally Jharkhand, which is quite a violent place, angry people, very in the banks I'm talking about, not by and large, very, very loving people by and large, but it was a wild place to grow up in. And my mother used to handle these powerful men who used to come and, try to ask favors of her that were not, that as a bank she could not fulfill. And she was an extremely strong woman. She would have been extremely ambitious, and she could have achieved great heights with the kind of, ability she had. My father never stopped her from, giving bigger exams and, getting transfers to other cities and becoming into a bigger post. But she did not choose to do that. For her, it was important to take care of me and my sister, live in the same city, very happy letting my father be the boss of the house where it would matter, and her being the boss of the house that mattered. And that insight helped me understand how I should treat my life as an actor, and between myself and my wife. If I had expected the same things out of a marriage as my father had done, for instance, at one point of time, that would have not physically been possible. But the concept that my dad actually was happy to stand back and let my mother do what she wanted to do was a great understanding for me. And I am able to do that for Sarita. I think that is the biggest challenge that this profession, brings forth between us as a couple.
Got it. Muruga, how do you think about this? The fact that, for all of us, careers are an integral part of our lives. And at the same time, so is a marriage, right? So how do you think about people reconciling their careers and their marriages?
As I said, Raja, it is important that the career is very important for the woman or even for other person. It's important that you need to communicate with the other person, make the other person to understand and support. And in my case, so my wife did her masters in the US, so decided to be a homemaker, and so she initially supported the business, and without her support, I would have not even built. The initial days she was supporting, even taking calls, many other things. But she decided to be a homemaker. In fact, if not for that one, I probably would have not devoted so much of time building BharatMatrimony.com. So basically, it depends on the socioeconomic status and the preference of the individual. So, but it's important that you need to respect and support other person in whatever they want to do in their life. So, the woman, as I said, who wants to work and want to be a career-oriented woman, it's important that you need to support. So again, in India, that earlier days, women apart from working, they also need to take care of household chores. But those things are changing. Today, the men
Yeah,
also started contributing, men also started supporting. It's important that we support and respect each other, and support what is the most important thing for the other person. So today, yeah, in this today's world, is important that the most of the family that not only for monetary reasons. I remember the first commercial what you did. One of the I won't say first commercial, one of the commercial which became very popular, communicating that the girl wants to work after marriage. It is not that she was working for monetary reason, because she loves the job. How the husband was supporting in her career. So that's a commercial. Like, that's a point you are trying to
yeah,
communicate. You get
yeah.
married to the person who support what you really care for. So
Got it. Got it. So I think we're halfway through. I'm just going to take it easy now for the next few minutes. And what I'm going to do actually is request Janani from the Bharat Matrimony team to actually play a few questions that have come in from the Bharat Matrimony community. So lots and lots of people have sent in questions. Some of them have sent in videos. We wish we had the time for sharing all of them. Unfortunately, we don't. So we've curated a few questions, a few videos, and I'm going to ask Janani to start playing. The first one is from Chandan from Bangalore. Janani, can we have that question, please? I think that's a question for Maddie. Janani, I don't think the audio is coming through. So let's give her a minute to try and fix that.
Sure.
Let's do one thing while we, just in the interest of time, I'm actually going to read out this particular question, even as we try and fix the technical issue. So the question from Chandan of Bangalore is, hi, Maddie, good afternoon. I want to know what positive changes has marriage brought in you?
Oh, Chandan, a lot of them actually. My understanding that I'm not, my ability to respect my own patience has increased after my marriage. I realized that I'm capable of a lot more patience than I thought myself to possess. That was a great and happy insight. The second thing is I realized that a lot more can be achieved positively as in a relationship with less yelling. Sometimes one gets so angry and the yelling is so much that the actual thing you're trying to communicate gets hidden in your tone as opposed to what you're trying to communicate. So if I really want to communicate something and I'm upset about something, I become very calm and very quiet and use the precise words to communicate to her. Another positive change. The third positive change is that I realize you have a lot more strength than you credited yourself with. And the fourth important thing is, which I have, I can think offhand, is that it made me understand where I need to stop in my career so that it didn't affect my personal life. So you have to identify what is important for you. Are you working so that you can have a happy family life, or are you having a happy family life and therefore work is secondary important, or you don't care about the family life, work is most important because you want to earn for your grandson. Those are the only three things that can matter. And in that process, you lose of love and affection of your wife and children. So for me, I'm striking a balance between getting that love and affection and making that family life count was as important as becoming successful. So I will stop short at things that would affect my family life and my career. One of the things that I will tell you is my wife was not very comfortable with smooching scenes or physically passionate scenes on screen. Okay, she was not comfortable. I did it in a couple of movies of mine, and then I realized I'm not good at it either on screen. So it was something that I didn't want to sell my films with, and so I stopped short in my career. I said, I won't do these love making or physical smooching scenes on screen, and not only am I moving ahead in my career in any way because of that, and now having a happy effect at home in my family. So even though Sarita is mature enough to handle it, I just decided that I'm not good enough on screen to do that.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Chandan, for that lovely question. I'm told the technical issue is fixed. So let's try. The second question is for Muruga. This is Aparna from Calcutta. Let's see if we are able to get the video on now. No, Janani, the audio is not coming through. No, it's okay. I think we'll just stick to me naming the person and asking the question. So this is actually a really nice question, Muruga. And she asked, Aparna from Calcutta, she's asking you, it said that marriage is all about being the right person, not really finding the right person. And she wanted your opinion on that.
Thank you, Aparna, for asking a wonderful question. Raja, it is my view that if you are right, we can make marriage right. In fact, one of my understanding is that it is not necessary that both the people have to be right in the marriage. In fact, one person right, they can make the marriage successful and happier actually. So either get in the relationship and make it right, or being right in the first page itself, and so that you can make the marriage right. If you are right, everything we can make it right. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you, Muruga. Next question is from Maddie. It's from Chetna from Mumbai, who starts off by saying that Chetna, I'm not sure if that's a he or a she, but the person loves you, and goes on to ask, what's the best life lesson that you've learned?
One of the best life lessons that I have learned from a friend of mine during marriage is to, like I've said earlier and many, many times earlier, is to look beyond the obvious. Sometimes people react to a situation, or we have our own prejudices that we let come in front of a situation, and sometimes don't give enough importance to that person or that situation to understand what is behind that particular outburst. So I have learned to not take the words or the expressions that a person is saying, but question myself as, why is the person saying it? What is the intent behind why they are saying it? Can I afford to give this person a little more chance before I make up my mind and succumb to my prejudices? And that has helped me immensely. I've found some of the best friends in my life, some of the most impressive associations that I've had in my life. I've been able to make that association because I've been able to push past my initial prejudices, understand a little more, scratch more than the surface, and realize that I have found gems in my life.
Thank you, Mary. The next question is from Muruga. It's from Priya Shah from Mumbai. And she wants to know, your mission is to create a better nation through happy marriages. And she wants to know, how are you doing that?
The purpose of BharatMatrimony, Raja, is that building a better Bharat through happy marriages. So we believe a future of the country depends on its citizens. A good citizen come out of good parenting possible in the happy marriage. Basically, if you get the marriage right, we can get the society right. If we get the society right, we get the country right. Because marriages are the founding block or social fabric of a country. So if you get this one aspect, if you get individual marriages right, we can not only build a better Bharat, we can even build a better world.
Thank you.
Very, very important. So, I tell to my associates, yes, there are many people are working on building a better country or world. But as a company, we can make a positive change, help people to find a right life partner, and help them to stay happily married, and we can build a better Bharat. So why in fact you have the site called even happy marriages, but you also want to do a lot of things towards uh, you know taking our understanding to a large population. As I said, the people think that marriage will succeed by default. No, it's not the case. People need to work towards making marriage happy and successful. A lot of interesting insights we have, but we are working towards. But again, a lot to be done. And again, that's a we believe that that's our purpose. I think that's a larger thing. I think that's what gets us very excited. So,
Understood. I think that's when you say it that way, it sounds very simple, and it sounds absolutely true that if you get the marriage right, you will actually get a lot of things right in the society around us. So thanks for that, Muruga. Last question from the community is from Ajay Kumar of Chandigarh for Maddie, and it's a fun question. It says, "Sir, kaise ho? Has lockdown changed you in any way? Are you participating in household chores?" And he's also added a bit of a laugh.
Oh, yes, brother. I've changed in a lot of ways. My respect for all the domestic help and my wife and all the people at home who cook, all that has gone up tremendously. And I've realized that cooking is not as easy. It's very easy to comment on cooking, but to get things right and make it happen, because I indulged in cooking quite a bit. And I realized that it's easy to cook. Yeah, you can put the ingredients and everything, but who the hell is going to spend time cleaning up the kitchen after that? That is a bigger task. So, so next time I started cooking, I realized I had to keep all the vegetable peels together and throw them out at the right time. If I'm putting flour on, or salt, I better put it in a conservative manner so that it doesn't spread all over the kitchen. Because after eating the food and enjoying your culinary skills, the biggest letdown is to try to clean the kitchen after the whole workout. So a lot of things I have learned this time. I've understood how where I can fill petrol in my own car and how much it actually costs, and what what the state of the economy is. Thankfully, I was shielded from all this, and I was just acting, and Sarita was handling it. So, like they say in Hindi, we understood "Aloo pyaz ka kya daam hota hai." It's a very great insight into my actual life, and I'm very grateful. That there's something positive that came out of the COVID era.
Thank you, Maddie. Muruga, I know that you're very inspired by the institution of marriage. You just spoke about how you think it's actually primal to nation building itself. I've also heard you frequently say that BharatMatrimony as a company is actually inspired by the institution of marriage. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Sir, Raja, what is it? Sir,
that marriages, one is that you have been very inspired by the institution of marriage, and you also I've heard from you that you built the company BharatMatrimony.com is actually built on the principles of the institution of marriage. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so right in the beginning, we are very clear that while we had the opportunity to get into various space around wedding, be it a friendship or dating, and so we are very clear. In fact, Bharat Matrimony right from the beginning very clear that we want to help people to find a right life partner and help them to stay happily married. That's why there are opportunity to get into other spaces, but we are very clear that this is what the area we want to focus on, because as I said, marriage is something like very, very important for not only for individual, for a society, for a country. And again, thankfully, the country like India and institutional marriage is very strong. And compared to global countries where that divorce rate is like 50% or more, in India, thankfully, it's only a few percentage. So I think one of the things about strength of India as a country is that our belief in the institutional marriage, and how we are seeing that seeing our grandparents, our parents, how in spite of all the challenges, we stay together to ensure the marriage are becoming successful, even the keeping the interest of the children. So I think it's a beautiful thing. It's important that we nurture and make the institutional marriages all the more successful, though in the changing world, though the institution constantly under attack. So we believe in the institutional marriage. You want to make marriages happier and successful and enduring and lasting. I think so. Basically, institutional marriage, what's gets us going. So.
Got it. Thank you, Muruga. So a small fun question for both of you actually. If you could go back in time, and if you could now meet yourself just before you were about to get married, a few years back. What is the advice that you would give to that younger self of yours, knowing what you now know about the marriage?
Yeah, I would say, brother, throughout all the ideas you had about an ideal marriage and how it's going to be a bed of roses, this is going to be a bed of challenges, and nothing like how your honeymoon has been. But more importantly, if you're able to soldier through it, and if you're able to understand and make the right kind of sacrifices, and I mean it over and over again, I'm saying sacrifices and adjustments, then the overall impact of a successful marriage is well worth the effort. I think that nobody knows what the future has in store, but in my opinion, I don't want to jinx it, but I've had a great, great time with Sarita as my life partner. And I do hope that I got married. Sorry, let me say it again. I got married to Sarita on the same day as my parents did, because I wanted a marriage exactly like theirs, and that's the truth. And so I realized that now it's been 20 years, and we've managed to keep it as happy as our parents have, and we have another 40 years to go before we can catch up with what they are doing to today. Now I see how my mother takes care of my father, and all that he must have done in his life to to earn her respect, for her to care so much, especially when he's not well. And so I think that I would have said that to myself 30 years ago, that you have to sacrifice, 20 years ago, that you have to sacrifice, but it'll be well worth the effort.
Muruga?
So when I got married, Raja, so this was something like I used to get upset with Deepa, that when she had a different point of view, because I used to think, how can a person can have a different point of view, because my point of view is right. And talking to my wife, that you are such an immature person, kind of, at the age of 30, you didn't even know that a person can have a different point of view, because I used to think my point of view is right. After that I realized that every person can have their point of view, because their point of view is coming from their understanding, what they exposed in life. It took a while for me to understand that okay, it's everybody can have a different point of view. You need to respect and understand that. Initially I used to get upset, certain things, some important matters, I said my point of view is right. I used to not really get upset, I think how she has a different point of view. And I think that's something would definitely will change. And so yeah.
Got it. So Maddie, you come across as a very calm, very happy, jovial person. Even when I look at your films, when I look at your interviews, even the last almost an hour that we've spent together, you've been smiling all the time. You're very relaxed. You seem very comfortable as a person. I almost look at you and say it's impossible for Maddie to get angry. Is that true? I mean, would your wife agree to that?
Not at all. Not at all. I think I am known to have a very short temper, and the good thing is my anger doesn't last for more than a minute. But I don't get angry till I'm pushed to a corner, and once I get it, I'm very sure why I'm getting angry. I think the only thing I will say to my credit is that I didn't have to apologize much in my life for getting angry. It was very justified in my point of view, and I only get angry, but I get very angry. I get really, really angry. I get frothing in my mouth angry. But it lasts for 2 minutes. I've conveyed my intention, and then I get back to being normal. I generally like to be a positive person. I like to get up in the morning, hug my family. I want to be somebody who smiles. And unfortunately, in the COVID era, we can't hug anymore. But I feel really, really odd if I'm not able to physically communicate the gladness of meeting somebody. And so to do an air punch now is very odd for me. But by and large, Sarita will not entirely agree with you that I'm a very cheerful guy. When I get moody, I get really moody.
Muruga, I know that you are a very spiritual person. I know that you believe in spirituality and it's an integral part of your life. Has that helped you in building a strong marriage?
Definitely, Raja. So with a spiritual understanding, we look at life in a different perspective. So that definitely helps. So when you have the different perspective about life, much beyond husband and wife, it definitely helps in the marriage. I definitely agree with that.
Got it. So Muruga, I also heard you speak a lot about how marriages need to be an equal partnership. And I know you believe in this very strongly. Can you talk a little bit about what you and Bharat Matrimony are doing to ensure equality, even before the match is made?
See, the equal partnership, people talk about it, it should not be taken in absolute term, so, and literally. So what is that, we have to support each other in all possible ways. So in today's thing that, when I put it differently that, earlier the women were working at the same time, they had to come home, they had to do all the household chores. And the women are expected to do that. It's not the case today. No, it's also that important that you need to support in all the possible ways, irrespective of what are the areas or what you are doing. So basically supporting each other in all the possible ways, it is what equality in the relationship. So it is not that I cook for one day, you cook for another day. It's not this, it's a contract. So equal relationship is supporting each other in all the possible ways. And today the men are changing. They started supporting the wives and various household chores or other things. So again, the recent commercial what you did with Dhoni, we communicated that the Dhoni has been supporting the so-called spouse in kind of helping in her career or other things. So basically, it's important that we need to have the equality in the relationship. As I said, it's not taken literal means supporting each other in all the possible ways. That's what the equality in the relationship.
Got it. And Maddie, on the same topic of equal partnership and equality in a marriage, what would be your advice to men?
I think you should understand the meaning of equality first. You should really ponder into understanding what it means. It means equal opportunity, equal respect, equal hard work, and equal admiration for one another. Okay. So, getting up in the morning one day and saying, "Hey, get me tea every day," could be a very manly thing to do at home. But sometimes, getting up and surprising your wife with that cup of tea, or doing something that she doesn't expect you to do, and telling, and like how Muruga said in the beginning, appreciating it verbally, even if you feel it, it's not enough. You have to appreciate it and verbally. And I think that those are the kind of aspects that I would love to tell people to do. A lot of my family members I know have a lot of love and respect for each other, but the ability to communicate that is abysmal. So even though it might be a very subtle as nod or a just touch in the arm, they might feel it. Sometimes it's very important to say how well they cook or how well they handle a situation, or how wonderful they have been in terms of support, and you have been that too. So that equality is extremely important, yeah, and not just saying I'll make the money and you make the food and you bring up the children and I'll take care of the career. That's not equality.
Got it. So now I'm actually going to ask each of you to ask one question to the other person. So starting with Muruga, what's the one question that you always wanted to ask Maddie?
I was always looking so youthful, in the chocolate boy image. I was able to maintain for so many years. As you're telling Maddie that 3 years ago, both of were in Harvard, so to be part of Indian forum, and a lot of girls was in surrounding Maddie and so. And Maddie, I think Robert was telling that hope you'll able to maintain this for like decades to come on. I don't think so. That's a good when that point I want to ask the question, Maddie, what is your secret of being youth?
I think it's not. It's physicality is not the criteria there. I think I've aged definitely, and I look 50 from the outside and the inside. There's an amazing saying in the film industry. We dye our hair and we try to pretend younger all the time. But one of the seniors told me it doesn't matter how much you dye the hair on the outside, all the hair on your inside has become gray. So. And the organs and everything else that used to be firing at their full are not as good as they used to be. So I think the youth, the perception of being seen as a youthful person in my life, I think is because of the ideas that dominate from me, and the kind of I think I possess a childlike enthusiasm for learning something new or understanding a new situation or a technology, and I communicate a lot with the youngsters because I want to learn a lot from them. And I don't alienate myself from them. So I think these things contribute to the fact that they consider me a chocolate boy. Of course, that's a title I think that I've far outlived already.
And Maddie, now it's your turn to put Muruga in the hot seat and ask him a question.
Yes, I mean, you've come from, Mr. Muruga, you've come from a very modest background, and you've done so well for yourself. You've become so successful. How do you teach the importance or the lack of it of money to your family? How easy is it for them to handle the new wealth that you managed to make. Maybe a lot more than the rest of the people in your relatives that you have ever made. So this kind of money, how do you help them, or how do you advise them on handling it?
And we keep communicating the stories of how my childhood was, and the challenges what I went through in life, the struggles I faced in life. So I just keep communicating the kids again and again, so they understand the what kind of family I was brought up with, what kind of challenges and struggle I faced in life. For me, it was so much of challenges in life. So it almost took 2 decades to come to a meaningful stage in my life. So that communication, making them understand the value of money, value of life, what they are blessed with, keep communicating how blessed they are. At the same time, communicating the importance of taking this forward so that they can make their life meaningful and contribute to the larger purpose or larger goodness of the society. Thankfully, both my kids are, very mindful of, how they need to spend. And sometimes I had to push them to kind of spend more, because they have been very, very mindful of and spending money. So that way is so blessed that definitely not only that communication that we did our children. Again, my wife definitely play a role in bringing them up, and thankfully that they are blessed with wealth, but they are rooted to the ground, and
Got it.
Wonderful. Yeah, I
Thank you.
have on this incident. Sorry, I just want to take this a little
Sure,
forward.
sure. Please.
I had sometimes you hear the greatest of wisdom from the drunkest of person. Okay. I had a drunk, or domestic help. His name was Doresami when I was young. And, he was busy spending a lot of money on alcohol. So one day my uncle went and told him, hey, listen, I said, don't you think it's your responsibility to save money for your son so they can give him a better future than you had? Why are you not doing it? Why are you not spending, saving this money instead of spending it on this alcohol like this? So in his drunken stupor, he said something I'll never forget in my life. He said, sir, if my son is a good man, and if he is a honest man, and I'm able to raise him honestly and with a good sense of grace and integrity, then he will not look at for the money I'm supposed to give him to make his career. He'll make it on his own. But if he's going to be an idiot, if he's going to be characterless, and he's going to be an nincompoop, then no matter how much money I give him, he's going to lose it any which way. So why do you bother making money for your children? So I thought that made a lot of sense in his own silly way. But I think making the youngsters strong of character, understanding that everybody will have challenges. Every father has a story to tell his son about how difficult a life they had. And I'm sure my son will also have his own difficult story to tell his son.
absolutely.
But I think building strength and character, and hoping that they imbibe what is required for them to survive, is the only prayer we have.
Got it. Thank you. So we are almost at the end of the webinar. It's really been fantastic talking to both of you about life, marriage, relationships. Before we go, I want to have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to actually I'm going to throw almost like a rapid fire 3 words questions at each of you. And I want you to respond spontaneously. Don't think about it. Just give us the answers. Anyway, we are almost out of time as well. So Muruga, you first. Who's the founder you admire the most and why?
Jeff Bezos, and to also like Steve Jobs, but Jeff Bezos, the wisdom, what you're able to share, that that's really I like it. So
Got it.
Jeff Bezos.
And the one habit of yours that you would love to lose?
Not getting out 5 o'clock. So
And your wish for Bharat Matrimony for the future?
I want everyone getting married. I want to get them married through BharatMatrimony. I'm in India.
Great wish, and wish you all the very best to you and your team to make that happen. Maddie, we'll sign off with you. I think everybody wants to ask you this question. You're the most favorite among the actresses that you've worked with.
I think it has to be Shalini. She was my first actress, and she helped me make that movie the way it did. And I have a great fondness for her and a great amount of respect for her.
Who's your inspiration, Maddie?
Oh, my dad, and his ability to not be touched by my stardom, either my wealth nor my popularity, and him having the ability to maintain his integrity and his middle classness, and feel completely satisfied with the fact that his son is successful, but not wanting to be part of that life. I just admire that restraint that he has.
And lastly, a message for your wife who's hopefully watching this.
Oh, I hope you're watching this. That's the message for her. But I've said some very flattering things. But I just want to tell her that my life is totally incomplete without her.
Thank you. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Muruga. That was a lovely hour. And thank you for being so candid and calm and, having the patience to answer all these questions. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, and I hope our audience enjoyed it too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maddie. Really nice of you, and really enjoyed it. Thank you, Raja, for asking wonderful questions, and thank you so much.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Muruga, and really wonderful to get your insights into how you've run your business. I look forward to us meeting in person again post this COVID era. And Raja, thank you for keeping it so refreshing and active and jovial all the time. I don't know how the 1 hour went. I thoroughly enjoyed this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maddie. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Bye, Mr. Muruga.
Bye.
Bye.